every athlete that's a college athlete making all this money and has all these NIL deals, and a vast majority of them do not.
It's like all these kids don't have to like stay true to their commitment. Like it doesn't matter. It's like the Wild West. Like who knows what's going on?
It's a puzzle. You know, sometimes there's complex matters and you still got to think. And, you know, AI is not going to do that for you completely.
Where was the moment when you saw we're on the forefront of this huge storm that's brewing? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. This episode of Get In is brought to you by Greek's Pizzeria, a true Indiana original that's been making people happy since 1969. If you grew up in Indiana, you've probably got a memory tied to Greek's, whether it's grabbing a slice after a high school game, late nights with friends, or Friday pizza night with the family. What makes them special is that every pizza is made from scratch. Hand-tossed dough, homemade sauce, and cheese that actually stretches when you pull a slice apart. They've been an Indiana favorite for over 55 years, still family-owned and committed to quality and community. So next time you're craving pizza that actually tastes like it was made with care, go with Greek's. Order online at GreeksPizzeria.com or stop in and grab a pie hot from the oven. That's Greek's Pizzeria, Indiana's hometown pizza since 1969. My guest today is Kelleigh Fagan, and she is a pioneer in collegiate sports law who built CCHA's sports law practice. It has developed into a nationally recognized practice serving universities, colleges, student athletes, and coaches all across the country. She's a decorated attorney honored with recognitions such as IBJ 40 Under 40 back in 2023, Indiana Lawyers Up and Coming Lawyer in 2019, and the University of Indianapolis Distinguished Young Alumni Award in 2024. I'm also joined by David Holt. He is the COO of CCHA. He leads operations, HR, marketing, and technology as the 145-year-old firm enters a major era of expansion, including hiring 35 attorneys in the last 4 years and adding new office locations. I'm really excited to dive into the evolution of what's happening with business and college sports. Kelleigh, you are an expert in the field here. You built this practice from the ground up, literally zero to hero, nationally recognized. I'm excited to dive into what's going on and how Indiana continues to be at the epicenter of athletics. Welcome to the show, y'all.
Thank you.
All right, so for those that's all going to get edited to sound very pretty. I just totally wobbled my way through the intro here, but I am really excited to talk today. It's going to be a ton of fun. You are both experts in things around students and athletes, right? So David has a retired career, 23 years in
Public education.
Public education, yep. And Kelleigh, you are a college athlete, correct?
Yep, I was a college golfer.
College golfer. Heck yeah.
Just for
So
1
was
year,
I.
though, until an injury. You were?
Yeah.
He was a college golfer, too.
Holy
Yeah, see?
smokes. What we need to start with is identifying where the idea of a sports law practice came from and where you identified that, hey, the market needs this. They need to know the evolution of college sports is coming quickly and we need to get out in front of this.
Yeah, I wish I could say that I saw that evolution coming and was like, yeah, we need this. But it was really from, I was an athlete growing up and I loved sports, and I had a very influential high school government teacher that made me interested in law. And I went to college thinking I want to figure out a way to put these two things together in my professional career and go to law school. And I thought at first I wanted to be a sports agent, and then I realized it's not really what I wanted to do. There's a lot more.
What drew you into wanting to be a sports agent? Like, why did you think that was the thing?
I thought that was what you did with a law degree and a sports background. I didn't know that there was anything different. I didn't know you could be a sports lawyer. I didn't know that was a thing.
Did you like watch any of those shows and you're like, oh, I could do that? You
Yeah,
know, like Entourage, you're like Ari Gold, like, oh yeah, that could be me.
I think Entourage may have turned me off to be wanting
That's
to
fair.
be.
I mean, yeah, he is a polarizing character for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you realize that you don't want to do that.
So I realized I didn't want to be an agent, and it was really because I only played college golf 1 year. I had a wrist injury, which is difficult from a golf standpoint.
Yeah.
So I continued to work in the athletics department at University of Indianapolis, and had a mentor there who connected me with somebody at the NCAA. And that's when I started to work at the NCAA and see this world of college sports law.
What were you doing at the NCAA?
So at first I was just doing an internship as an undergrad in their enforcement department. which
What does that mean?
So enforcement is the group that goes out and investigates potential rules violations by schools.
Every committee or job within the NCAA seems so just like daunting, like the enforcement committee.
Yeah.
Like I worked in enforcement. It's like you're showing up like, hey, not because what year is this?
So this is 2009, 2010.
Oh yeah, this is like no, you can't buy dinner. Like you can't.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's nothing you can do. You get them a T-shirt at the wrong time, and they're out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I wasn't doing much of the enforcing. I was so low on the ladder. I was supporting the investigators that were going out and doing the interviews and going on campus. But I thought that is really fun, and that might be a way to combine my law my interest in law and my interest in sports.
Yeah, is it like kind of like you're diving into the investigation of like, okay, did Johnny Manziel go into a hotel room and sign $10,000 or 10,000 autographs for $50,000? Or
Yeah, those are the kind of things. Like my first project was researching potential academic misconduct at an Ivy League institution of like cheating by the athletes in their academics that then would have made them ineligible. So it was really.
And you're an undergrad yourself. You're an intern at this time.
Yeah.
You're kind of like. That'd be hard to like, look at your peers and like look into their cases and be like, come on, like,
Yeah.
like, come on, we're not. Let's be honest here. What are we doing?
Yeah, I was probably as a Division II student athlete, so that's a different life than being a Division I athlete, and we were just there to play sports and go to school, and so we didn't have all the attention on us that the Division I athletes often get. So I had probably a different perspective on it.
Yeah. So you do the internship, and then do you end up working there after graduating?
So then I had a gap year, or I had a year between undergrad and law school. So I continued to work at the NCAA as just essentially a contractor, knowing I would be leaving, but made great relationships with people there. Went to law school. Law school's 3 years. Went through that. Did a few more.
Where at?
IU McKinney.
Nice. Okay.
And continued to stay in touch with folks. Did an internship at CCHA. At another firm in Indianapolis, and then I thought I might go back to the NCAA, and then and then a lot of the people that I had worked with had left and moved on to other things, and I didn't want to go back there. Had been at CCHA, which I grew up in Noblesville, so I've known this firm since I was a kid. Mike Antrim, his wife taught me preschool, so like I have a lot of fondness for the
that.
Firm
Is like such a Noblesville thing too. Like, yeah, sister's brother's husband down the road, like, was my high school basketball coach or whatever. Okay, respect.
And so I was like, well, maybe they'll let me start a sports practice where I'm not investigating the schools, but I'm defending the schools that the NCAA is now investigating. There weren't that many firms that were doing that at the time, and there weren't any in Indiana that were really doing that.
And like, what were the schools using? So if they get into some sort of investigation, were they just bringing in their normal outside counsel to represent them specifically there?
Sometimes there was a couple other firms not in Indiana that were doing it. So, they may hire them, or they might have in-house university counsel that they're using, or they might try to do it with their compliance person in athletics who may or may not be a lawyer and has a whole other day job rather, with this investigation on top.
Wow. Okay. So what year was this?
2013.
Okay. So then you end up joining.
So I ended up joining CCHA.
Okay.
At first, I had to have some billable hours at first. So I said, as we're getting this practice started.
So did you pitch the practice in your job interview?
A little bit, yeah. I didn't really formulate it until I got started more, but part of me wanting to go there, because I had another offer, and a part of me wanting to go there was they were going to support me in trying to grow this practice.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool to like see a vision and you're still, finish law school, you're still in your mid-20s, and to be like, no, I want to build this thing. There's something to be had there. And you wanting to chase that down versus like, hey, you just graduated from law school. It's like maybe later on down the road in your career, shake the boat versus,
Yeah.
So I think that having the courage and the internal drive to go and kind of present that early on is pretty cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And CCHA also they believed in the idea enough to tell me that I could at least try it. So I don't think we could have been doing what we're doing now had they not followed through on that. It would have been easy for them to say, come try that, but not actually give me the time and the resources to do it.
So you're obviously doing billable hours, you stuff to keep you got to keep the lights on,
Yeah.
right? What do you do? Where do you start? Like building a practice in a specific field from the ground up? What's like the first, like you cold call someone like, hey, can we represent you?
No. So really a huge player in the story is Julie Roe-Lash. So she is the current commissioner of the Horizon League, almost done there, about to head over to Pacer Sports Entertainment. But she was somebody I worked with at the NCAA and was a mentor to me. And she had left the NCAA, was figuring out what she was going to do next. And we had stayed in touch, and we got together, and I was like, hey, do you want to, would you be willing to come help start this practice? And she really wanted to, also had the opportunity at the Horizon League at kind of the same time, but was able to work out where she could be of counsel with us and do the Horizon League job. And really without her, I didn't have the connections that were needed in the industry at the time. I essentially said, if you bring in the work, I'll do the work well, and then hopefully I can develop those connections over time. So that's how we first started, was Julie helping to
What's
bring
the
in work.
first deal, the first case? Is it a case? What would you call it?
Yeah, case, yeah.
The first case that you guys get to work together.
Yeah, so it was a school on the West Coast. I can't name it for confidentiality reasons, but a Division I school on the West Coast that was an investigation into a men's basketball issue.
That's lawyers right there. There's a school that had an issue, and you helped solve that issue.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. How quickly after you started did this start to come together? Did work happen?
Yeah, so I think we really I started at CCHA in 2013. We really launched the practice in around 2014, and we had this first case in the 2014-2015 time period. So doing that first case and doing it well, I think, we were able to turn that into referrals.
Yeah.
And really, something I've learned to appreciate. I'm impatient in how I want this practice to grow, but I think it growing at the pace that it has allowed us to sustain its success. And versus it, overnight having to hire 10 people, you're probably going to make bad hiring decisions if you do that.
Yeah, and I mean, CCHA has a long-standing reputation of being around. 145 years? David, this is 104. How does that even happen? Like, were the original people CCHA, or like how did this evolve? Take me through that.
Back in 1880, Joseph Roberts rode in his horse up to the courthouse in Noblesville, decided he liked the town, and established an office. And then the lineage of him and his family and his sons throughout the years, going back 145 years, the firm has really tried to maintain that culture of believing in the community, supporting the community, but ultimately treating their clients the right way. We kind of make fun of big law a little bit.
Big law.
And we like the underdog. We like to do what's right. We like to treat our people well. We like to hire people with entrepreneurial spirits.
So how did it go from Joseph A. Roberts riding into Noblesville on horseback to open up this law firm to become CCHA?
The first church in the firm was kind of the leader and the elder of the firm, and then his nephew, Doug Church,
kind of sparked a revival.
Came aboard in the early 70s.
Two churches,
and then
come on, guys, let's go.
Then you get a Jack Hiddle, and then you get a Mike Antrim who believed in what they were doing. Also, Noblesville residents and really wanting to stay in Noblesville and provide back to the community.
How big is the firm today?
The firm today is about 65 to 70 attorneys.
Okay. Spread across how many?
Spread across 7 offices throughout the whole state of Indiana.
Holy, 7 offices?
Yeah.
Where are the offices?
So we have Crown Point, we have Fort Wayne, Tipton, Westfield, Noblesville, Fishers, and Zionsville.
There it was. Nice. That's why, and this might be a little bit before your time, but why the region? Why Fort Wayne?
CCHA has always been a large provider of services for public school corporations.
Oh.
And so we had a large concentration of school corporations in Northeast Indiana and Northwest Indiana that needed services. And so we found partners that wanted to provide services that were in alignment and agreement with CCHA's vision, and wanted to start an office in both Crown Point and Fort Wayne. And so That's grown from there, from providing services back to public schools to, a lot of business acquisition and other types of services.
So then that was a natural fit for the sports law practice to come out of. Like, you're already involved in education so heavily. That seems to be like a natural marriage there. So 2014, the practice really launched and you started to take on cases. How quickly did your time become more sports law practice? Like when did the scales tip from I'm doing billable hours to keep everything afloat to, oh my gosh, this thing that we started is working?
2018, 2019, and then really during the pandemic, leading into the pandemic, I became almost exclusively 90% sports law. I still have clients that are business clients that I continue to work with today.
Were you seeing the writing on the walls here? Like, when did you identify that finance in the money side of college sports, it was going to be coming to a point?
Leading up to 2021, which is when there was the Alston decision, which was a U.S. Supreme Court case that came out in July of 2021 that really changed things in college sports. But even leading up to that, there was a lot of discussion around NIL and student athlete rights, and student athletes were getting a larger voice than they'd ever had before. And so we started the practice to do that work where we're defending schools that are going through NCAA investigations. That's only a small portion of what we do now because college sports has changed so much. We had to bring on, expand our own expertise and bring on other people that we've hired that have different areas of expertise.
Where was the moment when you saw that paying, like the finance side of college athletics was going to be a big issue? And that, like, we're on the forefront of this huge storm that's brewing.
Yeah, it was probably leading into that 2021 summer. Is when it wasn't just me. I mean, others that are live and breathe this work every day saw it too.
That's 2021. So then before that, it was a lot of like the Title IX type investigative, like those kind of.
A lot of that was the NCAA rules compliance, the enforcement department coming in and doing the investigations on, an athlete that got more financial aid than they were supposed to, or was getting an impermissible benefit that now they all get these benefits and these are not even rules.
Like, what's
today.
something that an athlete would have been like largely punished for that today is okay?
Getting
something like that we wouldn't believe, or like that's crazy.
Well, the most famous thing is when UConn won a national championship. I forget which year it was, but it was at that point the NCAA there used to be rules that regulated that an athlete could have a bagel, but like not the cream cheese or not the peanut butter that would go on it. And
that's a rule?
It's not anymore. And there's probably people that say, well, that wasn't exactly the rule. That was how it was interpreted. But there just used to be so many rules around what athletes can and can't get in terms of benefits, being whether that's money, whether that's, extra help, and whether that's a local restaurant that wanted to give them a free meal, or even if an athlete wanted to have their own camp where they, as a golfer, could I have gone home and had a summer camp and made money off of that? Well, that would have been using my name, image, and likeness at the time because of my athletics ability, and that would have been a violation.
How many Noblesville middle school golfers missed out because of that?
Yeah.
Because of the name, image, and likeness law. Ugh. That's crazy. Okay, so then you as a fan, and you're seeing this unwind, you're seeing this kind of come to fruition. Do you find yourself resonating more on the side of the NCAA and your old enforcement buddies, or do you find yourself more resonating with the college athlete side of like if you want to, like, that's like a side hustle. If you want to go out there and do a camp for kids in your local community where you grew up, like, I don't know, the gut instinct to me says that's okay.
Yeah, I think I very much try to use common sense. Like, that feels like a common sense thing. You should be able to go monetize that.
I feel like a lot of people look at a lot of the ruling of the NCAA and say, like, where is the common sense?
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I have a lot of admiration and respect for a lot of the people there, so it's always hard to.
And there's an open invitation for anyone from the NCAA that wants to come on the show and talk. I say, like, I would love to chat. You guys you do great stuff. Big fan of your work.
Yeah.
Big fan. But like, yeah, you see when it came to jersey sales, like I think the biggest case of this, or where maybe there's just the most public information about this is like Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M. They're selling like millions and millions of dollars of number 2 jerseys down there, and he's not supposed to get any of that. And it's like they're profiting so heavily off his name, image, and likeness that's like, well, where in the world is that fair?
Yeah.
And then it's like we vote like we have today, and it's like all these kids don't have to like stay true to their commitment. Like it doesn't matter. It's like the Wild West. Like who knows what's going on?
Yeah, we need to find like an equilibrium in college. It's swung. I think athletes should be able to monetize their NIL. I have no issue with them getting paid. I think that's great for all of college sports. I don't think it's like reduced fan viewership or fandom as some people feared. I think that the next frontier is they become potentially employees, and I think that's where life as a Division I men's basketball, women's basketball, football player is so much different than a division. In some cases, a Division I women's golfer, and I think that's where we need to be able to differentiate between the types of experiences and not like paint with a broad brush.
Yeah, because it's almost like, I mean, just out of the pool of rabid NCAA women's golf fans is just smaller than, NCAA women's basketball fans, you know, like, and so like finding the people that want to fork up $1 million for the best women's golfer, like there's probably not that many of them.
Not many, no.
Right. Whereas like, the 15th string point guard coming to like, you want that, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So where did you guys start to gain national credibility for the sports law practice?
So it started with the NCAA compliance work and having a number of cases, and like any industry, like college sports, although it's national, it's small, and if somebody has an issue, they're going to call somebody they know at another school and say, hey, who did you use?
Yeah. Are there cases that you have been a part of that you're allowed to talk about?
Not really. Some of them have been public, but our involvement has not been public necessarily.
Okay. So are there cases that we could talk about in general and like how the NCAA is thinking about that versus like something just like, I think that a lot of us just read the headlines and we don't really know the ins and outs and logistics that are going into this, right? Like someone like, okay, for instance, we had the founder or the owner of Buffalo's in Bloomington down here, and they have Fernando Mendoza burger on their menu where Fernando and actually it was Fernando's people, and actually the Mendoza brothers together wanted a burger on the menu in Bloomington somewhere that the proceeds went to help because their mom was diagnosed with MS. So all the proceeds go to MS. And so they had to like set up this whole NIL agreement, but it's not like they're paying him for his name, image, and likeness, like stuff like that. So when talking through how have athletes' abilities to get paid just like totally shaken things up from an NCAA perspective?
Yeah, so using that example, had that happened before NIL became permissible, either it would have not been allowed, or the IU would have had to try to go to the NCAA and get a waiver and say, hey, we want you to waive this rule in this limited case.
Like these two boys, these two young men, their mother has MS. They want to do something nice for her and use their publicity and their athletic prowess and the fact that people know them to make a positive impact. And you have to go and get a waiver from that's one of those ones where it's like, it feels like common sense to me.
And there used to actually be, even if there used to be so stringent that if somebody, if an athlete was on campus, they're far away from home and they had something happen at home where they needed to get back home, they used to have to get permission to be able to fly them back home and pay for that. And over time, those rules modernized, and there's funds on campus now where they don't they have tried to, they being the NCAA, which is all of the members of the NCAA, meaning all the institutions, they have tried to pass rules to make those human elements more reasonable. But a lot of cases, some from several years ago, would involve an athlete setting up a GoFundMe, and they would raise money from the public, maybe from boosters in there for some purpose. Maybe it was charitable, maybe it was not. Maybe they were trying to go to the Olympics and they needed help, to get funding for that. And that would have been a violation. And now we just have ways that can be done legally.
What's the most famous case that was a violation, a very strict violation then, that today everyone is doing?
The first one that comes to mind is IU's basketball case with Kelvin Sampson. There are still rules around, there's still some limitations about when you can contact prospects, but that case I think was largely around phone calls and too many phone calls. A lot of that has been deregulated now. So there's probably other schools are probably like, no, it's our case that, that comes to mind. But there were certainly cases that were before I started in this area, and while I've been in it, where players were getting bags of cash or something that, while the bags of cash would not be permissible today, they could just pay them in a contract today, and it would be. The
YouTuber who is the kicker for UCF, I believe, is it UCF? Yeah. So he played college football. It's Donald De La Haye, but he's like destroying. Do you hear about it? And
I don't.
Basically, I don't know all the details or whatever, but like he was showing life of a kicker on YouTube and was making money, and they didn't want him to do that.
Yeah.
And it was like, you can't get paid from YouTube for like using the fact that you're a Division I kicker. And it was like he had got 1 million subs or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, cool. I'll just go do YouTube and do that full time. And it's like, now everyone has a YouTube page.
Now
everyone's got a podcast. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. David, as you guys have thought, since you joined in 2021, how have you guys seen this practice grow over your 4 years there? And how have you had to dedicate more people, more resources, as the practice grew nationally?
Yeah, as Kelleigh and her team continue to become known throughout the country, there's resources, there's people, there's support staff, there's offices that we have to provide. Her practice group revenues continue to almost double annually.
Let's go. That's hype.
But some of that is you got to feed the machine, and so that's Kelleigh going out and finding talent, finding people who believe in her vision, going out and getting other entrepreneurs that want to get out and market and network.
How many attorneys focused towards sports are there within CCHA?
Yeah, we have about 10 right now. I say about because we've got a couple of different arrangements, but yeah, we've got about 10 people that are focused on it.
10 years ago, you had half of one.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. That's so impressive. So cool. And it gives you this, from the outside looking in, like this glimpse of entrepreneurship within what I would believe is a largely not super entrepreneurial field. No offense to any of the lawyers that are listening to this, because I know there's a ton of you. It does feel it's like go and be a junior associate or whatever, pay your time, grow, and then eventually one day you can become a partner. And like the pathway is pretty laid out. Like look all across the country. There's lots of people who have done this. Like this is the first time I've heard of a lawyer that could stay within a practice and build something. Usually it's like ex-lawyer goes out and builds some sort of software company on the side versus building this entrepreneurial practice within a larger practice.
I never felt like I had the risk of a startup because I knew that I had a bunch of really good people that I trusted at CCHA backing me. So if this failed, I was still going to have a job. And I think that freed me up to not feel that pressure. And I think it says a lot about our culture. Mike Antrim told me, we want everybody here to shape their practice because if they do that, then they're going to stay here and be happy and enjoy their life outside of work. And I do think that's an ethos that we really try to live every day as a firm. We're not perfect. We don't always do that. We do have to pay bills at the end of the day, but I think it is unique in kind of creating a new group in an existing law firm that didn't really need the practice. We were going to be fine continuing to do what we were doing, but allowed me to at least give it a shot and see if it worked.
Yeah, I say it's like no one's losing their job practicing the way that you guys have practiced for 145 years. You're just doing the status quo is the status quo. But yeah, getting to build something up and doubling almost that's crazy. That's so cool. Where was the moment throughout this 11-year journey at this point from starting the practice? Where was the moment along this 11-year journey where it really clicked for you that you've built something special and you're on the right path?
I don't think it's clicked yet.
Really? You haven't found yourself sitting across the table from I don't know, the Big Ten or whoever, and you're like, dang, this is pretty cool.
I think anytime I get to go on campus and do work, it's and sit across it from really a student athlete and hear, what their life is like. I think that's always a moment that makes me appreciate it more.
What is like the most exciting day in the life of Kelleigh look like?
Lots of variety. So I may work on an NIL contract and then
Like when you're talking about, like, what does that mean?
okay.
Like take me through the details
It
of like
won't
what.
sound that exciting. I'm on a computer. I'm reviewing a contract of probably somebody that if you're a college sports fan, people may know, and it's
Is that ever cool? Where you're like,
for sure.
like
There's a lot of cool moments. I don't think have fully sat back and said like I do appreciate what we.
are you a
built, for
fan of
sure.
sports?
Oh yeah.
So like, what's your favorite sports team or favorite?
Oh gosh, it's gonna get me in trouble with clients.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
All of them.
Yeah, I love all of our clients are my favorite teams, but my parents are from Ohio and they both went to Ohio State.
Stop.
So, but my husband and my son are huge IU fans, so we've really become an IU Ohio State household, and it doesn't
Which side? What?
it doesn't always work well. Especially
What side were
recently.
you on for the Big Ten championship?
I honestly didn't care because my son's 7, or he's 8 now. He just turned 8, and so like to see him super excited was better than to see Ohio State win. So.
Okay.
I'm like maybe making a lot of people mad by not sticking with the Buckeyes. But
it's okay. We'll accept it. We understand.
But I like Pacers and Colts
Yeah.
and Fever and all of the local teams.
So you'll be on the computer, you're looking at whoever, big X name, 5-star prospect. That's the quarterback for blah 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 blah, and it's like, hey, this is their NIL agreement from. Raising Cane's Chicken. What's so and so? And you're like going through all that.
It'll be the agreement with the school. So we represent the schools. So since schools can be paying directly, we'll be working with the school to say what does this contract look like, and what do you need to have in there to protect you, and then the athlete negotiates what they need in there to protect them. So I'll be looking at and maybe negotiating with their agent or their attorney, the athlete's attorney, what the terms are. For the legal terms, I don't really negotiate the dollar amounts. That usually is told to us. But negotiating the legal terms that are around that. So that may.
How long are one of these contracts?
7 to 40 pages. We try to be in like the 10 to 12 range. Because
10 to 12 pages that are. This isn't you going back and forth on like, are you worth $1 million? Are you worth $2 million? This is like
legal terms.
If someone fails a class or something, and like, how does that look upon the university?
Yep. And what happens to your payment if that happens?
No way. Like, what are there other clauses like that are like, that would make people be like, oh, that's pretty fascinating?
I mean, a lot of the issues are things we see in the pros, although not related to academics. But, if you so right now, sports wagering is a huge issue in college sports. An athlete can be investigated by the NCAA and their eligibility can be at risk. So if in the middle of the basketball season, the school gets a call from the NCAA and says, hey, we think so-and-so has been involved in some sports wagering issues, then you might have to hold them out of games. And there may be something in their contract that says because their eligibility is uncertain that they aren't getting paid.
Like, this is crazy. You think about this. Okay. Mid-major school, wherever. Like, even like those lines are on DraftKings now.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine all of your fraternity brothers pool together. Like, hey, we're going to put 50 grand or let's say 10 grand. You get 100 people each put in, I don't know, $50. I don't do public math. But like, they get 10 grand to put on a wager. And they're like, hey, foul out or something. Like, you could like do
it's almost
something.
easier than that. It's like if you're projected to get 20 points, like get 19 or 21, or it probably isn't easy as it seems, but it's I think
or
a
like
lot
that
of
one,
them
like,
think I
yeah,
can do this without anybody noticing.
You're projected to get 20 points. Just stop at 19.
Yeah.
Just like brick everything else, and we'll slide you $1,000.
Yeah.
We're naive to think that that's not happening.
It's happening.
We're naive to think that that's not happening for sure, right? But it's also like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. That's great. We're also like naive to think that the coaches don't know the lines.
Yeah.
And then the coaches aren't like, keep the starters in. Let's like they have some like they're not aware of like, oh, we were not favored by XYZ and like I want to run up the score or I'm going to keep it close.
Yeah, recently the NCAA so they have right now the rule is if there is an NCAA sponsored sport that is also on the professional side, like they can't even gamble on the NBA. Because there's a basketball as an NCAA sport. And there was a proposal recently to deregulate that part of it and allow betting on professional sports by college athletes or people who work in athletics at the university. That got overruled. And so now the rule is still, so if an athlete bets on the Super Bowl, or if a director of ops bets on the Super Bowl, that's not permitted under NCAA rules, and they can get penalties.
Well,
for
we
that.
used to get told in college. So I was on the team at DePaul, and they would say like no fantasy football leagues.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, because somehow having a fantasy football league with all of your friends, like this was pre-DraftKings. This was like you can't even have like the ESPN app because that's frowned upon by the NCAA.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably the biggest issue right now in college sports in terms of where there are risks for athletes.
Is it going to continue to be as crazy? Like, let's say this. Get Indiana, blows up, we become $1 billion company. Do you think that I will be able to just go and say, you know what, I want the Jaguars downtown, IU Indy, I want them to be great. Here's $50 million, buy the players. Can I just do that?
Yeah, I mean, those conversations are happening, and some schools still have collectives, which are third-party entities, but they're essentially very affiliated with the school.
Yeah.
So there's a salary cap. So each school has up to $20.5 million this year to be able to spend in total on all their athletes, each Division I school.
How do you balance Title IX with a salary cap based on like, you know what sports drives the most revenue and attendance?
Yeah, so revenue generation has never been a justification to not comply with Title IX. So that is one of the areas that's most up in the air right now and from a legal standpoint.
Because like, how are they using like the average team? If you had to say like they're bucketing 50% to football and 25% to men's basketball, and then the other 25% gets spread across the other 20 teams or whatever. Like, how is the distribution typically going?
About 75% football, usually about 5% for women's basketball, maybe a little bit left for all the other Olympic sports, and then whatever the balance would be of that for men's basketball.
Wait, how much whatever the balance would be for men's basketball?
Yeah. So it usually goes 75 if you have football, 75% to football, 10 to 15% for men's basketball, 5% for women's basketball, maybe 0 or a little bit for the rest of the sports.
Those field hockey players are getting the short end of the stick.
There's a lot of college athletes not getting any or getting very small amounts of NIL.
What do you think about that?
My fear is that we've made a lot of progress in terms of Title IX in the last 50-some years that we've had the law, that this could potentially halt some of that or slow some of that down. We're seeing schools cut more sports, not just women's sports, also men's sports. But I think part of being a college athlete is you go learn how to be an adult, and college athletes are generally more successful in the workforce and have come out more prepared than somebody who's not a college athlete. And I think if we are eliminating opportunities for more broad-based sport program, that causes me concern. I think I want as many people as possible to be able to play college sports because I think it is a great thing.
Are you guys thinking about this trickling into high school? David, you spent the most time out of anyone here in high school.
I think if we think it's not, I think we're naive. I think you see 5-star athletes, for specifically the big sports, football and basketball. You see players that are committed, are driving vehicles that are beyond their family's needs. So
that's another one of these common sense
things.
Each state, like how did Johnny get a Bentley?
Regulating the high school, and Indiana is not quite there yet.
Yeah, Indiana does not allow high school to do NIL right now. Ohio just started it, just passed passed their rules that allow it.
Like that allow high schoolers to get paid?
Not by their schools, but by the local restaurant or car dealership or
Which is also like you're naive if you thought that wasn't happening before.
Right.
Like you're
Friday Night Lights.
It just
You
didn't
remember?
feel. It just didn't feel like that. Like, and honestly, I actually like it. I like the fact that growing up in a small town, like the football team's out at the diner and like the old farmer picks up their tab. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
And like some people will hate that, and like that's okay. I'll take that. But like I think that it's cool. Or like, I remember, being at the gas station and you're getting a Gator. Like, oh hey, great game on Friday. Like,
Yeah.
it's like wrong. It's not right technically based on IHSAA, based on NCAA, all that stuff. But it also is like it matters to people. Like sports matters. It's a community builder.
And I think one thing, the just crazy growth of youth sports, and that if we don't modernize at a high school level and allow some of this, we're already seeing that people just don't play high school sports anymore. For their school, they just play for their club or their travel team. And I think if you're playing for your club and your travel team, there isn't an IHSAA that's regulating that, so you can go get those deals now.
Yeah, like I guarantee it. There's like a 5-year-old or 15-year-old lacrosse player that's like sponsored by the biggest stick brand, and like let's say they're 10 years old and their mom runs their Instagram and they're getting like deals about lacrosse stuff and they're getting paid to do it for sure, right? Yeah. Like, it's the Wild West.
It is.
Are you guys thinking about that from a high school perspective? Is that like on the...
I mean, we collaborate with our K through 12 practice group, and if they've got issues that come up from an IHSA standpoint, or if we need to provide some education. We've had a couple of situations where a family or a student may think like, oh, I can do that now, and they don't realize Indiana doesn't like it. So I think we'll have a leg up in that we already represent so many school systems in this state to be able to, when issues come up, do that. But until Indiana does it, we probably won't see as much of it.
Everyone like exaggerates a little bit when you talk about like, oh, I'm getting $10 million or whatever. But like there's a lot of money going around. And I thought of it too. Like, so I'm a DePaul graduate and I'm like, go Tigers, baby. Let's go. All right. So you and me, let's team up. We'll each throw in a couple. Like we have to be the biggest D3 collective if we put like 10 grand in, right. There's not that many D3 programs tossing around money. I think we could get some top recruits for just a couple grand. That's not out of the question from a D3 level. Like, if it meant, okay, actually, here's a question for you, David. You're a DePaul grad?
Yes.
What year?
1990.
Okay, 1990. Do you like stay up on the Monon Bell game?
Yeah. My son graduated in 18.
If it meant that we would win the Monon Bell game, like, would you get financially involved?
Absolutely.
Like, I would too. Yeah. Come on. Like, that's not that far. And Wabash feels the same way.
Yeah.
And that people for their alma maters are like, oh, yeah, you know what? Like, so-and-so was an All-American. Like, maybe we should toss him a couple free Marvin's cheeseburgers after the game next season. Like, for sure, right? It's crazy. It's so crazy. What do you think the biggest misconception around NIL in college athletics is?
Probably the dollar figures. I mean, they're high, but the ones that are always floated out there aren't always accurate. Yeah. And I think I would couple that with, I guess, a second biggest one is that like everybody's getting paid now. There's 85 some players on a football roster. That's a lot of people to pay that you'd never paid before except for a scholarship. Not to mention all the other student athletes. So I think it's that like every athlete that's a college athlete is now making all this money and has all these NIL deals, and a vast majority of them do not.
What's the seriously validated most amount of money you've heard of a college athlete making?
$8 million.
$8 million from.
And that wasn't a client or anything like that. That was
from a collective or from like brand deals.
I think this was all in.
All in?
Yeah.
Because, like, I do respect, if they're out there hustling, making content, like, doing their thing, like, you can make a really good living. And it's almost like, why go to pros if I can just, like, come back, play, get another mill from the school and a mill from the local car dealership? Like,
well, that's another issue is that there are, like, 30-some lawsuits against the NCAA right now about their eligibility rules of how long you can compete in college. people want to keep coming back because they're able to make significant amounts of money.
I think I got a few years of eligibility, and now I have some followers. Like, let's make a deal, Hoosiers. Come on now, let's go. Are you worried? Are you guys worried about college sports? Like, do you think it's gonna lose any of its luster? Do you think it's gonna, like, I know that one thing that I saw last year. Again, it could be a 1 year anomaly, but like basketball, March Madness. From the outside, from a fan's perspective, it looks really hard to have a great March Madness when these mid-majors develop talent and they get poached by the biggest schools because they have a big checkbook. And it's like hard to see the like Loyola Chicago's make this crazy run because those players don't need to stick around because they can get a bag by playing 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years, and then transferring to the big school.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a real risk that unfortunately is there's no easy solution to it, because when you've got $20.5 million you can spend, the mid-majors aren't spending $20.5 million, and the Power Four are spending that and then having their collective spend more than that.
Do you think that contracts will start to matter more in from the athlete perspective?
Yeah, I think if you have multi-year deals, like versus a 1 year deal, and a school tries to enforce that, that's going to be much different than what we're seeing now. So while they can't, the NCAA can't, because of antitrust, they can't right now have rules that prohibit transferring. You can have a contract that says you agree to be here for 2 years, and if you don't, you owe me a buyout, so your next school has to pay.
I think I just heard of the first time that a school is sued an athlete because it was like 60 grand or something like that.
I think it's Georgia. There's a Georgia.
Georgia,
Yeah.
yes. So Georgia paid up money. Do you know this case?
I don't know the details of it. I saw the story about
yeah,
it. But
where they paid money and then it didn't end up. Maybe the person transferred away or didn't, and they were like they want their money back.
Yeah.
Which is like I think that was the first time a school had ever came after money they had dispersed.
Yep.
Which I mean, like, it's kind of fair. I think that it would be interesting to see a mid-major. You're like, you know, in the thick of rural Indiana. You're driving to these games and you're identifying talent that no one else is willing to go find. Like, they have it. They're like a 0-star recruit. You sign the hick from French Lick, Larry Bird, to come to Indiana State. And it's like, granted, loyalty and like not getting paid, like he sticks it out with Indiana State. But if you find and develop that talent, it's like, yeah, like in today's current landscape, you can't blame them. Like, you come from French Lick, Indiana, and someone says, hey, we'll give you $1 million to play basketball for us. You have to take it. Like, you can't be mad at the kids. But it's also like if you get them under contract of some sort where like, hey, if IU wants to poach the Indiana State kid, you can have him, but we need our finder and development fee. We need a little bit of residuals.
It's like what we see on the coaching market in college sports. You see these huge buyouts that institutions will owe, or if somebody goes from one Power Four to another, then if that coach leaves voluntarily, then there's usually a buyout, and the next school has to pay it. So I think that's what we'll start to see next is schools will buy out the contracts to be able to have them, void that multi-year deal.
Well, I mean, you see it in the MLB too, where these companies will go into like Puerto Rico or the Dominican, and they'll find these like impressive 7-year-olds, and they'll be like, hey, we're going to give you $200,000 today. It'll elevate your stat. Like, it's more money than they've ever seen. And then we get 20%, 50% of your future earnings. And a lot of times they don't pan out, and they're taking bets on these kids and these families. Understandable. But then it's like Fernando Tatis, he gets this huge contract and millions of dollars are getting sent out to this guy, which is like fair. They found them and they developed the talent and they were part of it. You're seeing that on the professional side.
Yeah, and the college sports rules essentially prohibit that, so that you don't get their NIL rights once they have no more eligibility. So they've at least tried to stem the tide of that happening at the collegiate level. But I mean, I think we'll only see it's so early. The House settlement is really what has precipitated all of this, and that just went into effect in July of this past summer. So we're only 5-6 months into this world where schools can pay athletes directly. So we still have so much to be seen as to how it where it settles, how it evolves, whether they become employees. There's a lot of questions still.
I could talk about this all day. I think it's so fascinating. We are going to shift gears a little bit because what we've clearly learned over the last 50 minutes talking about college athletics and NIL and all those things is you guys are pretty innovative. For a law firm, I think that that's pretty cool to spin up a new practice. David, talk to us about the other ways that you guys are moving this business forward, this practice forward, how you guys are, you're really involved in the community, but you're also, growing, expanding, bringing on new attorneys. How does a law firm stay innovative in 2026?
Believe in your people. Believe in Kelleigh. Provide them the resources to go out and do what they need to do. Get out of their way, honestly. We've almost doubled in size in the 4 years I've been here, and I think that's
kudos to you. That's awesome.
No, it's kudos to everybody in the firm believing in the vision. Believing in where we want to go, but most importantly, treat people well, treat your clients well, treat your staff well. I don't care if you're selling lemonade on the corner or you're Fortune 500 company. It's about your people. It's about how you treat your people.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision? Do you know where you're going?
It's interesting that you're talking about people in a world where everyone talks about AI. How are you guys thinking about that? Right, you're overseeing technology as well too, right?
Yeah, you have to. You have to be aware of what's going on. We talk about it internally as a firm as how can it support what we're doing. It's not to replace what we're doing because it's still a people business. You still need to develop relationships. You still have to have conversations.
A lot of times, like the junior, what's the entry level role of
Associate.
An associate? Yes, an associate. A lot of that is just like reading, right, and like reviewing stuff. Do you think there's a world where that gets replaced by AI?
I don't think it gets replaced. I think it supplements, what their role is. You still have to use critical thinking. You still have to be able to figure things out. It's a puzzle. Sometimes there's complex matters, and you still got to think. And AI is not going to do that for you completely.
I was gonna say, are you guys, as like an attorney, are you not worried but aware of how AI is changing and like the fact of reading documents, like the role of an attorney might evolve a little bit?
Yeah, we talk about the ethical use, the acceptable use of it. We talk to our young associates about if it helps you save time in the creation of something, it can't be the complete document because it's still evolving as a technology. And so but
you're saying you didn't always use M dashes? That wasn't like you guys didn't always do that? No. Weird.
You do?
Oh
I love a good M-dash.
Yeah, it's like no,
but you can tell when it's being used.
It hit LinkedIn first. Like this was probably maybe 2 years ago or so. And all of a sudden, like, again, this is very stereotypical, but like stodgy 60 plus old white CEO all of a sudden has emojis in his LinkedIn posts, and I'm like, bro, come on, like that's just not. You're not writing that. Like he went from posting like very short, like love this, blah blah blah, and now all of a sudden it's like I'm so excited to talk about my new blah 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 blah, and it's like power emoji, like hands sparkling, jazz hands, let's go, and it's like, dude, come on, that's not real. What are we talking about here?
Our clients want to have a conversation with their attorney.
Yeah,
and if the attorney's not well versed in what they created, if AI did it for them, they're not going to be able to serve that client well. So we talk a lot about that with our team.
Yeah.
I think we do a good job of meeting. Kelleigh and her group and I meet, on an ongoing basis because I'm like you, I'm a fan of what they're doing. And I think it's fun to watch it evolve. And, I love how Kelleigh doesn't have an end game to this. She said earlier, she's still striving to, she hasn't even touched the surface of where it can go. And it's fun to watch that. It's fun to support that. As a firm, I love how we have others in the firm who have seen Kelleigh create this that are thinking about what can they do that's unique, that's different. And that allows us to attract young people and talent. That's the game, and keeping your people.
Well, both of you have been awarded several very, amazing, incredible awards. Talking about getting honored by being on the 40 under 40 list for the IBJ. How impactful was that for you, and how validating was that in this thing that you've created?
Yeah, I don't like personal attention very much because I there's so much more that has gone on into the success of this than me. But it has that was something that peers nominated me for at the firm, and so it's always validating. It always feels really good when the people you work with every day and care a lot about as people thought of you to nominate you for that and took the time to put a nomination together. So my family got to come, and I'm sure it was a proud day for my parents and my sister and my husband and some of my closest colleagues at the firm. So it was definitely a huge honor. I wish I could have shared it with like the whole team and everybody that's ever worked in sports law at CCHA.
That's like the Fernando like Heisman acceptance award, basically.
I didn't
That's
see
what you
his
just
speech.
get.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all of our awards. Like, he's just so passionate and like comes and brings so much energy. I love it. David, you also 2009, you were the IBJ CFO of the year. You were ASBO School Business Official of the Year in 11 and 14. But most recently, in 2024, you were inducted into the Indiana ASBO Hall of Fame. Talk to me about what that means to have left such a outstanding legacy in education in Indiana to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like, that has to feel pretty good. Also, I want to preface it that you don't know, you were with Warren Township Schools for 23 years?
Yeah. Before I came to CCHA, I retired in 2021. I was in public education. Prior to that, I was 11, 12 years with Fifth Third Bank in investment banking. I loved
from investment banking to education.
Yeah,
it's finance,
finance, not finance.
Yes. From investment bank, that is like the most 180 U-turn I feel like I've ever heard. Yeah. From investment banking to get into public schools.
What do you want to do? What do you want to get out of bed to do today? My family were educators. I always wanted to be a high school coach.
What do you want to coach? Golf?
No, baseball, basketball.
Respect.
It allowed me when I was at Warren to do some of that, to be around kids. Every day I felt like my job, I was impacting 12,000 kids, 8,000 family, you still have a job to do. You still have, to make sure people are paid, make sure the buses run on time and all that.
I think everyone likes to say, like everyone says, like, we're changing the world with the work that we do here. And it's like, you have to really get you're like so far removed, it's like, by building these paper cups, we're fueling the coffee of America. And it's like this far for you wake up and you are impacting when you were there, you're 12,000 lives.
Yeah.
Like that's the student population,
absolutely,
right?
And
that's crazy.
It was great. I loved it. Being someone who was able to share at a statewide level, just ideas and, things that we were very successful at Warren, and then taking that to the, kind of the association that other school people, I got very heavily involved with that. I did a lot of training, a lot of professional development. And, I think the Hall of Fame, that wasn't me. That, again, going back, that was a team kind of thing. I just appreciate the opportunity because they gave a lot to me. I was hopefully I gave back to them a little bit.
Yeah, I think that public education is definitely over-criticized, underpraised. Like it's a thankless industry. We had, I actually had the CEO, the outgoing CEO of Community Health Network in here.
Brian Mills?
Brian Mills.
Yeah. Very close friend of ours.
Oh, yeah. Brian's great. Yeah. We love Brian. Yeah. I had Brian on not too long ago, and like we had the same or a similar conversation about providers. Like anyone that works in healthcare, thankless job. So hard. Like teachers, oh my gosh. Talk about this. Okay, we talked about AI, and now we're talking about public education. Like, how are these teachers supposed to know, like, kids cheat? Like, that's just how it goes. Kids use AI.
My 8-year-old asked Alexa a question the other day, and I was like, no. We don't ask Alexa for the homework answer.
Yeah.
Like...
That's ever evolving. If you talk to the Department of Education, that's probably their number one concern right now is just not eliminating it, but embracing it. And how do you I had the analogy given back to me a few years ago, the difference between learning how to do math and using a calculator. And today we're going to use a calculator if we need to find out, public math.
Yeah, exactly.
It's how do you use it appropriately and how do you use it as a tool and a resource? AI is going to be a part of our lives forever moving forward. It can't be a replacement, but students still need to learn critical thinking. They need to learn how to write and develop content. And the Department of Education, public educators are trying to embrace it.
Yeah,
not throw
I
it
always
out.
did think I had this graphing calculator that had more buttons on it than my phone, and I'm like, what? When am I ever going to use this thing? And so maybe evolving and figuring out how people are using AI or using technology to become critical thinkers and solve the world's complex problems. It's above my pay grade. I just sit here and have conversations, right? This has been super fun. It's been awesome to learn the 145-year plus history of CCHA, the 11-year journey of the sports law practice there, and how you guys have grown that nationally to be at the forefront of athletics in universities. I think that it's complex. I think you've just scratched the surface. I think things are going to get way crazier before they get any more simple. I think it's really, really cool to hear your passion for it, Kelleigh. We are to the part of the show where we're going to talk all things Indiana, if you guys are okay with that.
Absolutely.
Acceptable? All right. This question is brought to you by our friends at JC Hart. They're a leader in creating enjoyable living experiences at apartment communities all across Indiana and beyond. Check them out at homeisjchart.com. My question for you, David, we're going to start here and then we'll go to Kelleigh. David, why do you call Indiana home?
It's always been home. I have lived in other areas, but you always come back to Indiana. I mean, Hoosiers.
Great movie.
There's something to it, and then there's something about the people. We're within a drive of 80% of the population in the United States in a day's drive, and so you can go anywhere.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah,
Kelleigh, why do you call Indiana home?
I was born and raised in Noblesville, went to school in Indianapolis, live in Indianapolis, and it's just always been where my family's been, and I've never really wanted to leave. A lot of people be like, oh, in college athletics, you move around a lot. I haven't. I've been in central Indiana, and for somebody who loves sports, there really can't be a better place to be.
Heck yeah. Do you guys each have a favorite one of the offices that you work out of?
I'm in our Fisher's office. We call it the Fish Bowl, so that's got to be my
Fish
favorite.
Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm in Noblesville mainly. Yeah.
Noblesville. Do you go to the other ones as well?
Yeah, almost every day.
What's been the most, almost every day you go to a different one of them?
Yeah, I don't get up, to our region offices, but, I'm in Fishers almost every day. I get to Westfield, Tipton, Zionsville weekly.
Ooh, out of all those different markets. So you have Crown Point, Fort Wayne, Tipton, Westfield, Zionsville, Fishers, Noblesville. Did I just get them all?
Yeah.
Let's
there you
go.
There you go.
Which one? What's your favorite spot out of all those places?
I love downtown Noblesville. I wasn't a Noblesville, homegrown person, but, I'm kind of a transplant now. And the square, what the city of Noblesville is doing, to maintain that history, that integrity. If you haven't visited downtown Noblesville, it's a delight.
All right, I like that. Noblesville it's cool. It's way up there, but it's cool. The Peony Festival? Come on
absolutely,
now.
yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk. Okay, if you were both college athletes, I want you to put yourself, you were both college athletes. Shout out. If you would have been in the running for NIL and there was a brand that was going to work with you and sign you guys, what brand would you want coming after you to sign your NIL deal?
Oh, these days I'd want Viore. I wear a lot of Viore stuff.
Viore's sick. Absolutely. Come on.
Oh, as a golfer, Kelleigh,
That would have been fun.
Yeah, that would've been
yeah,
great.
for sure.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping, DePaul guy, I was kind of hoping like Moore's Bar and Grill.
Oh, yeah.
Could have been a pretty, like third drinks free. That would have been pretty fun.
Yeah.
Could have been a good time.
Marvin's travels everywhere.
Who are each of your favorite athletes?
Mine, athlete and coach, was Pat Summitt. As a fifth grader, we had like a night of the notables, and I dressed up as Pat Summitt, and my fifth grade teacher got a picture signed by her, and it's in my office now. So I've just always read all her books and been a huge admirer of her.
That's sick. Isn't the next WNBA team going to be the Summits?
Shame on me for not knowing that, but that'd be awesome.
Oh, Nashville's bid for a WNBA expansion team proposed as the Tennessee Summit, honoring Pat Summitt. Was unfortunately not selected.
Oh.
For name-wise, that would have
That's
been
great,
great.
yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. It's not actually happening yet, but I do think that's a great name.
Yeah.
Could be fun. Pat
Yeah.
Summitt.
Yep.
I love that.
different athletes at different times of my life, probably, those that transcended sports, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, they took it beyond just the court or the arena, and they made it a global name and brand.
Absolutely. Favorite Indiana team?
Watching the Pacers last year was so fun and heartbreaking at the same time at the end, but I probably have the most memories of being a Pacers fan as a kid and then against the New York Knicks, so I'd go Pacers.
Yeah, I would go Pacers as well, the old Market Square Arena in those days.
Last year was so fun.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking at the end, but I would live it again.
Oh, for sure.
I would go back and like that. Those 6 weeks, the city of Indianapolis was just popping.
Yeah.
Felt like we couldn't miss. Like Indy 500's going on. Everyone's buzzing. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
CCHA does a lot in the community. Talk to me about your favorite community initiative that you guys have across the state of Indiana.
I love that, you mentioned earlier the Pina Festival in Noblesville. I think that's grown from a Noblesville thing to really a Hamilton County, central Indiana, and it brings in 10 to 15,000, and we love being a major sponsor of that.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's like 15,000 plus people. And I didn't realize it's only like 7 years old, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought, oh, this is the legacy, like the 100-year-old Noblesville Peony Festival. And it's like, no, it's like less than a decade. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm on the board of the Noblesville Boys and Girls Club, and we are entering our 75th year next year. And I went to the club as a kid when it was in a very historic building in downtown Noblesville, and now it's in a brand new building. But I think that's been my passion the last 10 years or so, and we'll be doing a lot this year or this coming year.
Heck yeah. That's so fun. I think that was also what Brian talked about.
Yeah, Brian was on the board.
He loves the
Yeah.
boys and girls.
Yeah.
And he was like, I went to the club, like blah, 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 all this stuff. And I was like, this is more than I've heard about the Boys and Girls Club in the last week than I have in the last 5 years.
Well, Brian was involved when I was like, I know Brian's kids, grew up with his kids, so he was still on the board when I joined, and then he rolled off.
I should have known. You Noblesville people, they keep it tight. Okay, this one's could potentially be expanded outside of Indiana. You talked about your favorite part being when you get to be on college campuses. What's your favorite college campus to be on?
I was on campus yesterday, not for any investigation or anything, but on at IU Indy, and I just love the urban. And I was at the law school, and I just love like the urban environment and how much they're trying to integrate into the city. I live in Indianapolis and just really have come to appreciate Indianapolis as a city and being outside of the donut counties. Moving in from the suburbs, so. I don't know that at this moment I'll say that's my favorite, but there's a lot of other there's a lot of beautiful college campuses out there.
Besides Greencastle,
shout out! Come on now, Tigers.
It's always fun to when IU is relevant in a sport and going down to Bloomington and being part of that. So, my 4 years at DePaul, we went to IU a lot. It's IU basketball was in their heyday and winning, national championships. So, Bloomington's great as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's just like when you talked about like the energy and being a part of a college campus. It was this past fall. It was like a Friday morning, and I was in South Bend, and I was on my run through Notre Dame. Just like the world's just waking up, and I'm just like, and everyone's just chipper. This was back before they missed the college football playoffs, so like they were still young and spry and full of hope. And like Friday in the fall on a college campus, I don't know if it gets much better. Like, holy cow. All right. These are the same 3 questions that we ask every guest who comes on the show. This first one, obviously you're representing universities all across the nation, right? You guys are working with clients, not just in Indiana. If you could shout it from the rooftops, what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
We have a first-class higher education system. When you look at IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, Butler, from the large schools, but then your smaller schools, DePaul, Wabash that we mentioned, people from all over the country and world come to do their higher education in Indiana, and I don't think people appreciate that enough that live here.
It has been and can be and hopefully will be, again, a really vibrant downtown, and the sports scene is a huge part of that. And people that have traveled here for sporting events don't realize what a great place Indianapolis is until they've come and experienced it. So there's just so much that we have to offer as a downtown city that hopefully, I think things are coming back since the pandemic, and we're on the up and up, but hopefully that continues.
All right, Kelleigh, we're going to start with you. This is your chance to shed the light on a part of the state, a place, a park, a thing, could be whatever, that more people need to be talking about. What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
Yeah, so I didn't know of this place until I started dating my now husband, but his family went most summers to Lake Lemon, which is close to Lake Monroe, but not the lake. It's kind of the younger the stepchild or the younger brother or sister of Lake Monroe, but it's a really beautiful place. I've been privileged to get to spend a lot of time there now with my in-laws, and I think it's if you don't want to be on a huge, crazy, busy lake, it's a great alternative.
Yeah, Lake Lemon. I like that one. That's good.
I'd say our state park system. I love being outdoors. I love just hiking. I love biking. The state park system that we have in Indiana is awesome. Turkey Run, Shades, Indiana Dunes. I mean, there's so many different places you can go. They're affordable, they're clean, they're safe. Great places to take your family. So our state park system is first class.
I mean, it's winter. The toboggan run at Pokagon State Park, that has to be one of the most unique things at any state park anywhere. Like, watch the videos out there, listeners. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You're going like fast down that thing.
Yeah.
All right. So our final question. This is where we source new guests or learn about other people across the state of Indiana or ties to Indiana that are doing inspiring things. David, we'll start with you. Who's a Hoosier we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
Yeah, Kelleigh mentioned earlier her mentor, Julie Rolash.
She's stealing mine.
Well, but I think that she is somebody who, if you're in that sports community, but if you're outside the sports community, she's shaped collegiate sports. Now she's going to work as the executive vice president of the Pacer Corporation.
I would encourage people to go back and listen to that episode. She came on and I was like, okay, we'll talk Horizon League.
Every time I see her, I learn something new. It's impressive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just like so fun, exciting. Julie rocks. I'll have to get her back on then maybe in a year and we'll talk all things Pacers. Yeah. That'll be fun once she gets things rocking and rolling there.
Julie's been so instrumental in my life that she's just, every room she's in, she without even trying, she commands the attention, and she's such an incredible leader, and has taught me how to be a working mom, and still have a career and still have ambition and pursue that. So it sounds like you're already watching her, but like you said, bring her back.
Yeah. I mean, when I knew I was buying whatever she was selling.
Yeah.
She comes in and I talk about her favorite sports memory, and she talks about she was at Milliken, and it was like in the conference championship, and she was a senior, but she had gotten injured, and they looked at like they need to hit a game winner, and they're like drawing up a play to someone else, and she like looks at the coach and says, "No, I'll take the shot." And like and she hits it and like goes crazy, and they win the conference championship. And like from that, I was just hanging on every single word, like every single syllable as soon as it came. And I was like, oh my gosh, whatever you're selling, I'm buying. Like she rocks. Yep. This has been fun. I learned a lot when it came to all things NIL, just like the complexities of college sports in general. I think that we're far from the end of that. I think there's a lot more things that are going to come out when it comes to NIL in college. But you did a really great job of making that easy for me to understand, and and understand the work that's going in behind the scenes, and universities protecting themselves and athletes protecting themselves, and all that crazy work that you guys have been working on for 11 years, which is awesome. And learning about how a 145-year-old firm navigates and takes care of its people, and think about AI. Like, we covered so much ground today. I feel like we could do a whole nother episode just about public education and like that whole topic. Like, we might need to do a part 2 about that, because this was basically all about college sports. But I'm fascinated by the side and the work that you guys are doing for high schools, because I think that education is just in an interesting place right now, as becomes more accessible with AI and with the internet and things like that. And yeah, the work that y'all are doing is super impactful. So it was a pleasure to hang out with y'all.
Thank you.
If people want to learn more about CCHA, if they want to learn more about each of you, how can they do that?
Our website's probably the best, cchalaw.com. Has all of our information, all of our bios and things that we do. So
yeah, I love it.
Go visit that.
An attorney riding into Noblesville on horseback and starting this 145 years ago to what you guys have built today and spread all across the state of Indiana. It is inspiring. It's incredible. Keep up the good work. Keep innovating. Keep taking, even though it doesn't feel like risk, keep taking risks and chances. And oh my gosh, you guys are crushing it. And it was a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all my gear recommendations at Sweetwater. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.